Making change is not about what you believe. I push legislation through over the objection of the Pentagon, over the threat of a veto from
public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
President Bush. I want to make change, but I've already made change. I will continue to make change. I'm not just running on a promise of change. I'm running on 35 years of change.
Decision. It was a local decision.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act.
I do not have. I have money from people who work for fossil fuel companies. I am so sick. I am so sick of the Sanders campaign lying about me.
That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer. I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody.
The FBI believes that you tried to wipe the entire show. Did you try to wipe the entire, so that there be no email, no personal, no...
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern-day lynching, that...
Sorry.
Yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Oh, yeah. Black guys put hot sauce on everything.
Simply press the button on this side of the watch. It delivers a rather liberal spritzing of hot sauce. One blast should be enough to make Caucasian food edible.
Hot sauce.
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Are you getting information right now?
Kamala Harris's comments from her radio interview with The Breakfast Club are sparking controversy.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
And I inhale. I did inhale.
Okay.
What does Kamala Harris listen to?
What were you listening to when you was high? What was on? What song was
Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah, definitely Snoop. Tupac.
Harris graduated from Howard University in 1986 and later got her JD from the University of California in 1989. Tupac's debut album, Tupacalypse Now, came out in 1991, and Snoop's first album, Doggy Style, followed a few years later in 1993.
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now, listen, I just want you to know, people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people again.
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah.
Is it working?
Is it working?
Kamala Harris ran for president by rushing to the radical left, embracing Bernie's plan for socialized medicine.
Just to follow up on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, to reiterate, you support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance.
Calling for trillions in new taxes.
Well, guess what? First thing I do is going to repeal this Trump tax cut.
On day one, we're going to repeal that tax bill that benefited the top 1% and the biggest corporations in this country.
What a lovely day. So we're 2 years after the tax cuts. We showed a screen right before we came into this, before we went to break. Since the Trump tax cuts, Dow up 15%, S&P 20%, NASDAQ 28%. And my question to you is what you think the natural the natural increase would have been without the tax cuts?
Well, I think it would have been a lot less, to be honest with you. I think one of the major things this tax cut did was increase the stock market and the wealth of America. I think that's huge. I think the GDP growth has also been quite substantial from the tax cuts. Tax revenues, I think, are fine, running right in line. I think employment has been improved dramatically. And I think real wages have been increased substantially from the tax bill. So I'm very pleased with the results, and I look forward to a lot longer increases in prosperity from that tax bill.
You know, we should ask people, what do they think is the fair share And what you'll find is that most people think it's much lower than the actual tax share that the wealthiest Americans pay, because the top 10% of income earners actually pay more than 70% of the federal income tax burden. And more than half of Americans now have faced no federal income tax burden at all. They've seen this with these tax cuts, where the myth continues to spread that this was just a tax cut for the rich, when the exact opposite is the case.
Well, that's certainly the case. I mean, I live in California and I pay in the top tax bracket, and that means that I'm actually paying a lot more than I did last year, specifically because I can no longer take my tax at the state level and use it as a deduction against my federal taxes. So I'm paying the top tax rate in California and federally. This has happened to a lot of people who are high earners in states like California and New York, and yet the media continue to suggest that it was tax cuts for the wealthy, many of whom are paying higher taxes as a result of the Trump tax cuts.
Obama policies made things very difficult for people to achieve the American dream, with the policies driving away manufacturers and companies and businesses shutting down.
That he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
And I'm not sitting in an office all day, Charles. I go out and I talk to people, and I'm listening to them tell me about how much the tax cuts mean to them and their lives and their businesses, how they've used that money to invest in their own companies, to hire more workers, talking to average people, saying how much it means to have a little extra money in their paychecks every week. It really is a big difference. And it's not just about economic opportunities. We're talking about justice, freedom, and security.
Attacking Joe Biden for racist policies.
To hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
Look.
Voters rejected Harris. They smartly spotted a phony.
Here's the deal, guys. My campaign for president simply does not have the financial resources to continue, and the financial resources we need to continue.
Biden calls himself a transition candidate.
It has to be demonstrated that whomever I pick is two things. One, is capable of immediately being president, because I'm an old guy, okay? No, but I'm serious.
Slow Joe and phony Kamala. Perfect together. Wrong for America.
What, like with a cloth or something?
Okay.
I'm not crazy.